Good morning and welcome, DaveInTheMorning.com. I'm Dave. It's Friday, June 11, 2010. It's Casual Friday, which means I get to go golfing this afternoon. That's cool. I like to golf a lot, as I've said before. Hey, I'm going to talk about illegal immigration and I'm going to talk about illegal drugs. And then I'm going to try to tie illegal drugs and illegal immigration together because it's kind of the same problem. It's different, but the same. A couple days ago, the Justice Department released that they've had a sting operation going on for 22 months. A joint operation with Mexico to target the drug trafficking organizations. And a DTO is a group of people from Mexico trafficking drugs in the United States. Mostly, and their favorite drug to traffic is called methamphetamine. There's like 5 or 6 DTOs, and they're along the border. In the border towns is where their base of operations. You've probably heard that there's been kind of a war going on in Mexico in these border towns, and it's a war against the DTOs. 20,000 people have been killed down there in the last year. 20,000. It's a battle, guys. These DTOs have lots and lots of money at stake. Anyway, so they arrested in the last 22 months between the U.S. and Mexican authorities 2,200 people. They've seized like 1,200 pounds of methamphetamine, 1.5 tons of cocaine. I said that wrong. 2.5 tons of cocaine, 1.5 thousand pounds of heroin, etc. Cars, guns, the whole thing. Bad people. Good on the Justice Department for doing this. Good on the Mexican authorities for doing this. And keep it up. Methamphetamine is a huge problem here in the United States. It's huge. And it's a problem in rural America. And now it's a problem in the cities too. But it's been devastating. Devastating. And I'll go into it in a second. Illegal immigration. If you go to the border between the U.S. and Mexico and you look in the window, there's 2 signs. One sign says, no trespassing. And the other sign says, help wanted, apply within. Well, the no trespassing sign is kind of worn and no one pays much attention to it. But the help wanted sign is still up. Still up. In fact, some companies have been known to advertise for illegals to come work in Mexico. Some companies have maybe had guys deliver illegals to them to help fill their plants with workers that are less demanding and cost less than American workers. The U.S. government kind of turns the other way because of money and because of votes. And the Chamber of Commerce likes it because if I can pay my workers less, that means more profit for the company. So it's about money. And when I say the government makes money from this, the Social Security Administration makes money. Because most of the illegals, all of them that work for a paycheck and a check, have to have a Social Security card. Well, it's going to be a fake Social Security card, right? So they have a fake Social Security number, and they pay their wages, and they pay their Social Security tax, and they don't collect any Social Security. So you're asking yourself, if they know that these guys have fake Social Security numbers, why don't they go after them? Because they don't want to. They like the money. The government likes the money, they like the votes, and the companies like the money. So the illegal immigration problem is not going to go away, and Arizona can hoot and holler about deporting these guys, but as long as there's jobs here, and people turn the other cheek, and American business likes to have illegals here, the problem is going to keep going on. The problem is going to keep going on. So, that's the illegal problem. Now, along with the illegals coming in, a huge flow of people, you have these Mexican drug cartels, DTOs, bringing drugs with them. They make methamphetamines. And methamphetamines are more popular for these drug trade organizations, DTOs, than heroin or cocaine because they don't rely on anybody else. They can make it themselves. And they make them from ephedrine, and then they started making them from pseudoephedrine. The pseudoephedrine is common in cold medicine. And now they've figured out a way to make them without either of those, but that's a different thing. So anyway, they make these drugs down in Mexico in these super labs, and there may be some super labs in California. And they busted up a super lab in Georgia just the other day. And they found 350-some pounds of methamphetamine. It was the first super lab busted up in the East Coast. Huge deal. Huge, which means that they pushed on. And guess what? It was Mexicans, guys. It was Mexicans with this super lab in Georgia. Not good. So they come in and then they distribute the drugs because there's Mexicans, nationals, all over working. So they can get their networks out there, and they're already illegal, and it's easier to hide. In this book that I read, Meth Land, by Nick Redding, he says that, if I'm at a factory working in Iowa at $18 an hour, and then the company shifts and it goes to $6 an hour, to pay my bills, I've got to work more hours. Well, it's hard to work in these processing plants that he writes about. So to be able to stay and work, I start taking speed. I start taking methamphetamines. And methamphetamines will last for 12 hours and make you feel really good and make you work really hard. And you don't need a break. So he draws kind of this thing saying that because wages went down, people started taking meth. I'm not sure I agree with it completely, but they could work harder on the meth. So the problem stemmed, and you can make it yourself. You can make it yourself. And the countries tried to battle back and forth with the pharmaceuticals to make certain precursors illegal with some success and some not successes, because you can still buy pseudoephedrine drugs in the States. And they have guys that pick them up called smurfers, and it's very interesting. In fact, Meth Land by Nick Redding is a great book. It describes this wonderfully. Wonderfully. I recommend it. So, where are we right now as far as drugs? They're increasing again, guys. The use of meth is increasing. There is a meth report put out, not really released yet by the government, that's very discouraging. There's a national drug assessment that came out in March that was not very encouraging either. In fact, discouraging. But the governments are working, both the Mexican government and our government, to try to stem this. And I'm not sure that this shooting down in the border for this 15-year-old kid is really all it seems to be at first. And, it might be related somehow to this. I'm sure all the agents are kind of on edge right now because of what's been going on. There's a lot of money at stake. And to be honest, the border towns south, the Mexican border towns, are a mess. They were a mess because of this. So here we are. We have this huge drug problem growing in our states, in the states, of methamphetamines. We have illegals still coming in. You have people screaming about illegals passing, states passing, and just laws that are just stupid, that don't really deal with the problem. The problem is, I think, that you have a help wanted sign. You got to get rid of the help wanted sign. And we as citizens need to stop purchasing and using goods provided to us by companies and that hire illegals. And when a company says, I didn't know he was illegal, yeah, you did. Does he speak English? No. Does he have a bogus social security card? Did you really check, or you just kind of give a pfft? Because you're responsible. And until we hold those companies accountable, it's going to keep happening. They're going to keep going. And as long as we have a flow of illegals in, these drug trafficking organizations are going to keep operating. And I don't know, methamphetamine is one of those you can shake and bake it yourself in a 2-liter bottle, get the stuff, and that's kind of a mom and pop thing. But these super labs get the purity so high, and they get this distribution out that the price drops, they make money, and they can get it to everybody. And I just worry, I really worry that if we don't have control of our borders with people coming in for jobs, and they like the jobs, and they're good workers, the majority, the overwhelming majority of people that come up to the United States undocumented, illegally, are good people. But amongst them are really bad people. Now, I'm not sitting on a high horse saying, hey, America doesn't have bad people, because we got lots of them.